is setting U.S. policy. I don't think even before they threw Joe Biden out so unceremoniously, I don't think even back then people thought that Joe Biden was the decider. He would be clear and coherent it was measured in minutes, not hours. Who then is making the decisions? Is it the Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken? Is it? I don't believe it's Kamala Harris. I just don't think she has a lot of ideas about foreign policy. Is it like a Politburo of party activists? Who makes the decisions in the United States? I honestly don't know, but I think we can both agree it's not Joe Biden.
Well, I think you're going a little far. He is the president. He has taken a number of decisive steps. I mean, going to Israel a few days after October 7th, when Israel is in a state of war, that's not something that was programmed by someone else, not by his wife, not by his Secretary of State. He pretty clearly decided to go there in an act of solidarity. Now, the problem for Biden has been, and I do think Biden is still the key factor here, though I agree with you, he has his limitations mentally. His problem has been that he has an old-fashioned democratic affection for Israel, dating back 50 plus years. But his party, the younger people, the activists, despise Israel. So on the one hand, he has a certain lingering affection. On the other hand, political realities, and especially the forthcoming election in November, require him to pull back. So he has been on the horns of a dilemma. And those around him who have strong points of view have been pushing, especially the anti-Israel caucus, which is, as time goes on, stronger and stronger. Though I do wish to point out that the platform of the Democratic Party, which has just been passed at the convention, is quite pro-Israel. These tensions are not completely resolved in favor of the anti-Israel forces. They're stronger, to be sure. But the lingering, Charles Schumer is not what I'd call a great, Shomer, a great protector of Israel. But he, like Biden, he has a long-standing affection for Israel. And he is not anti-Israel. He has rather dubious ideas about how to solve the problem there, but he's not anti-Israel. And the elders of the party, like Pelosi, Schumer, Biden, are still the key figures. And the change might come imminently should Kamala Harris become president, but it's not quite there yet.
Huh. I remember a few months ago, there was this astonishing speech or statement, rather, made by Schumer where he effectively called for a kind of, I'm going to call it a soft coup against Netanyahu. Here, let me play the clip of that. I've just never seen a senator in the United States call for the replacement of the democratically elected prime minister of another democracy before. Here it is to refresh your memory.
I have known Prime Minister Netanyahu for a very long time. While we have vehemently disagreed on many occasions, I will always respect his extraordinary bravery for Israel on the battlefield as a younger man. I believe in his heart he has his highest priority is the security of Israel. However, I also believe Prime Minister Netanyahu has lost his way by allowing his political survival to take the precedence over the best interests of Israel. He has put himself in coalition with far-right extremists like Ministers Smotrich and Ben-Gvir, and as a result, he has been too willing to tolerate the civilian toll in Gaza, which is pushing support for Israel worldwide to historic lows. Israel cannot survive if it becomes a pariah. As a lifelong supporter of Israel, it has become clear to me the Netanyahu coalition no longer fits the needs of Israel after October 7th. The world has changed radically since then, and the Israeli people are being stifled right now by a governing vision that is stuck in the past. At this critical juncture, I believe a new election is the only way to allow for a healthy and open decision-making process about the future of Israel. At a time when so many Israelis have lost their confidence in the vision and direction of their government.
I suppose you could say, well, Chuck Schumer, he's Jewish himself. He has an old-fashioned affection for Israel, as used to be more common in the Democrats. But calling for, in the middle of a war, no less, calling for the decapitation and the firing of Netanyahu, yeah, that might not be anti-Israel, but that's pretty crazy.
I didn't say it was smart. Yeah. I said it was an affection, a dumb, like, can we call it a dumb affection? Affection that has dumb ideas, like creating a Palestinian state as a reward for October 7th. Yeah, full of bad ideas, but still not anti-Israel, not wishing Israel ill, not wanting to get rid of the Jewish state. So, you know, it's in between. The Republicans, by and large, are full-throated pro-Israel, standing by Israel. And there are some Democrats, notably John Fetterman, big surprise. But overall, the Democratic Party, or the liberal left in the United States, as around the world, is turning against Israel. My favorite example, Ezra, is, of all places, in the southern cone of South America, where you have Argentina and Chile. And they could not be more different in this regard. Arguably, Argentina under Javier Milei is the most pro-Israel government in the world. Arguably, Chile under Gabriel Boric is not the most anti, but it's pretty close to it for a country that has nothing to do with Israel. Extremely anti-Israel, to the point that Boric wouldn't accept the credentials of the Israeli ambassador. He didn't want anything to do with him. So there you go, far, far away as you can get, this argument over Israel and the Palestinians, Israel and Hamas, is playing out and has an important role far away. And it's a left-right debate. It's a left-right debate. It didn't used to be that way. But over the past 35 years, since a sequence of events took place in the early 1990s, it has become a left-right debate, and it's becoming ever more a left-right debate, with these sides ever more clearly distinguished. They're not pure. You can find exceptions like Fetterman, but they're becoming ever more rare.
Yeah, it's very unusual. I was surprised when Javier Milei physically embraced the Israeli flag during his campaign. I just thought, wow, that's a boldness. I mean, he's an extremely bold showman in any event. I mean, from his hairstyle to his speaking style, he's quite a character. He really is Trump-like. But he's an economics professor at the same time. He's a character. I see it though in other places. I mean, in Ireland, I see that government, which has always been sympathetic to the Palestinians. I suppose they see themselves both as rebels. The Irish Republic rebelling against the UK over a century ago. Right. But it's odd to see it because there's so few Jews in Ireland. Ireland has such little interaction with the region. It really is a kind of virtue signaling. I'm constantly astonished by it. The president of Ireland recently sent I think it was a condolence letter to Iran on the passing of their president or whatever it was, the guy who died in the plane crash. Like, it's very strange to see countries with no connection to Israel economically, militarily, diplomatically, and there's no demographic connection, there's no Jewish community, just, poke at Israel for whatever ideological box checking. I just find it bizarre. Of all the crises in Ireland, which is a country I've followed sort of closely these days, they always stop and make time to take a shot at Israel. It's just really weird.
Scotland and Norway, and Sweden.
Yeah.
Look, the left in the early 1990s began adopting the Palestinians as their favorite cause, as its favorite cause. And this has increased, as I say, over the third of a century. It's a result of a whole range of things that happened. The invasion of Kuwait in 1990, the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991, the coming together of the European Union in 1992, the Oslo Accords in 1993, and finally, and perhaps most importantly, the collapse of the apartheid regime in 1994, Nelson Mandela coming to power. All these 5 events turned the left from generally sympathetic to the Palestinians to extremely focused. And the coming out party for this was, not coincidentally, in Durban, South Africa in 2001, just days before 9/11. And it has increased over the next 2 decades, and it's ever more acute. But mind you, it's not just a one-sided phenomenon. The right, which used to have a lot of qualms and problems with Israel, has increasingly adopted Israel. It was in the 1950s and 60s the right that was reluctant to work with Israel, saw Israel as an impediment to forming alliances against the Soviet Union. The right has now completely changed. And again, there are always exceptions, but overwhelmingly, the right around the world, whether it's Japan or Brazil or India or Finland, Canada, the right has become Israel's stalwart friend. Yeah. This is a dramatic reversal from earlier decades, and it's becoming ever more clear that the right is with Israel and the left is hostile to Israel. I wouldn't say that the left is pro-Palestinian. I would say the left is hostile to Israel.